in attendance. We will call this budget work session to order. We do have a quorum, and we'll start with an invocation. Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for the community we live in, the great place we get to call home. Pray that you'll be with us during this work session as we discuss the finances and the future budget of this community. Just be with us as we get through this tonight. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, we'll move to our first approval of tonight's agenda. The floor is open.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Holloman, seconded by Commissioner Favors. All in favor? Move to old business item number 2, FY 2027 budget discussion, and I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll try to make this not as painful as it can be. If you'll recall from our last work session, we threw out a few tenets, design parameters, if you will, for FY 2027 budget. Obviously maintain our core services and trying to address inflationary cost pressure. Looking at our major revenues, ad valorem taxes, other taxes, they look favorable on an upward trend. However, our other revenues, licensing, just miscellaneous fees and things look like they're trending back towards the 2023 level. 24, 25, part of 26 was kind of inflated, but just as we're in the mid-year of 2026, looking at it and taking a look back several years, on the surface, it appears like we're trending back to some 2023 revenue numbers. Again, our primary budget pressures are insurance, fringe benefits, and public safety pay. This first chart here is I wanted to address our cash flow. Obviously, January we had an influx of all of our fire fees and property taxes that come in. April is skewed a little bit due to a FEMA payment that came in. But you can kind of see how our inflows and outflows are for the first 7 months of 2026. Comparing those, the difference between the inflows and outflows, you can see we had 2 good months. Again, April was reflective of a large FEMA payment, and then the difference in our revenue and our expenditures, May, June, and July, were negative. Looking at the general fund over the last couple of years, the blue bars are revenue, the orange bars are expenditures. And you can see how we had some savings in some years, and then 2024 and 25, there was some overages there. And we'll get to 27 here in a minute. Again, from our workshop, 2027 constraints, just some of the things that we're looking at. We factored in 30% increase in healthcare, 30% workers' comp, retirement, 30% liability. I'll go ahead and say we're looking at now a 2% COLA. Our fringe benefits are averaging around 52%. We may be faced with a split year tax collection again this year, and then from the previous slides, we always try to manage our cash flow without having to borrow from reserve to make it through. Priorities that we discussed, identify duplicative positions, ones that may not fully serve, analyze the cost to serve, contribute at least $500,000 back to our reserve, support public safety, look at a 3% COLA, and then analyze cost of shared services between the city and the county. This next slide, there's three columns on the far right. We tried to project three different ways with respect to millage. If you remember from our conversation earlier, our calculated rollback is 6.156 mils. That's from the PT form. That's taking into consideration our lost and flossed, the first 6 months of flossed. I can projected what a 7.156 millage rate would do, and what a 7.809, our current millage rate, what that would do, taking no rollback. And you can see the numbers there. It ranges from 7.4 million to 8.9 million. Insurance premium tax, you can see it's steadily grown over the last few years. And this is a redundant slide about our other major funding for the fire fee, the 5, 6, and 7 cent collection rate. So initially, I did kind of prepare two budgets. Initial budget design, I compiled all the requests and items that we discussed at our first work session, and I measured all of the requests against the full rollback rate at the 6.156, calculated our anticipated tax revenue on the assessed value, and focused on law enforcement, which is within the general fund and the general fund itself. In this workshop today, we'll focus on the general fund. Again, this kind of just breaks out that chart that I showed a few slides ago with our current mill rate, the rollback rate of 6.156. This just takes these numbers that's out of that chart. So the initial budget results, when I used the full rollback rate and all of our things that we discussed, general fund revenues calculated out to $25,220,895, and general fund expenditures calculated to $28,904,511. So that left us at a balance of about $3.7 million. So I went back over the weekend and in the last few days and adjusted the budget design parameters. I used that middle column that was in that chart, assumed a 7.156 millage rate, not taking the whole rollback, and added a 3% growth escalation to our digest. I did assume around a 7 cent fire fee, eliminated all the proposed positions that we talked about in the work session, with the exception of the converting the part-time to the full-time in the tax assessor's office. Eliminated 5 positions across the county, calculated a 2% cost of living, and adjusted the starting deputy pay from $25 an hour and a 2% compression adjustment. At an earlier work session, we talked about $29 and $27.50. And that was reflected part of why we were $3 million and some change out. So, and removed, requested about $620,000 worth of requested vehicles out of the general fund budget, and we will need to fund them out of SPLOST 8, and mostly those are law enforcement vehicles, which is an item in SPLOST 8. So as they need them, we'll need to bank that money to be able to make those vehicle purchases. One of those vehicles was for a county department, and the other one was for the coroner. I'm trying to find some funds, if we have some remaining funds left over this year, to go ahead and purchase a coroner vehicle or find one in the county, because his is starting to have transmission trouble. His is a recycled police vehicle or sheriff's office vehicle. So with that, using that 7.156 with a 3% growth, our estimated revenue was 6.8 million. When you take in the flossed adjustments and everything, we're at 8.38 million. Using those adjusted budget design items and assuming that partial rollback, our general fund revenues, we recalculated at 26.4 million and general fund expenditures at 26.56 million. So right now, with the sheets that are at the end of the presentation, we're about $163,000 out of balance. So that seems to be workable now. I will, in a few more slides, discuss that we'll probably add to that. We'll have to fine tune those. There'll be some miscellaneous expenses we need to add to general properties. One of them being Blind Willie, the future maintenance for that. Trying to find ways we can cut to replenish our reserve account and make sure we adequately fund our insurance roll-off claims. This pie chart here just shows, it takes these sheets that are in the back and shows where everything goes. And obviously, as you can see, the lion's share of our revenue does come from taxes. There's fees, grants, charge for services, another big chunk of that. And then our transfers in from other funds and other sources. General fund expenditure, estimated, again, the lion's share of this, 16.1 million, is for salary and benefits. And that typically tracks with any organization. Personnel costs are the highest costs. Professional service and contracts are the next largest area. And materials, supplies, the basic needs, necessities are at 3.1 million. So that's how everything breaks out in the accounting work, towards our objects. We balanced all our other funds: 911, transit, campgrounds, courts, grants, special projects. I don't have a bunch of slides. I don't have any slides dedicated to those. At the draft budget presentation, I'll hit on those. What I really wanted to do was just focus on the general fund, since that was the largest fund. Everything else that we've worked on, we've managed to take into account some increases and balance those out. Again, items left that we need to finalize are facilities maintenance, obviously Blind Willie, the old courthouse, and the airport. There's some discussion with the city about there may be some savings in grass cutting out there. I believe they indicated that the contractor of the airport is supposed to be handling that, so the city is working on that. I had a conversation with the city administrator last week regarding that. I've already mentioned our insurance runoff claims. Since we switched insurance providers, we're still paying some runoff claims for things that were billed prior to the switch. Those have been pretty healthy. So when I say healthy, they've been pretty large so far. So I'm struggling. We're trying to figure out a good number to budget for that going forward. We started with $500,000. This budget here tonight is reflective of $100,000, and I don't have a good direction on that one just yet. Obviously, we need to find a way to contribute to our reserve account, and then we're still working on our fee schedule. Community Development Department, there's some opportunity for some solar panel fees in there. There's opportunity for to adjust our other fees, and then animal services. We're starting to get requests from other jurisdictions on our assistance. So we did feel We've got 3 people there, 2 left, and so that left the director for a couple of weeks. But we do have our animal control officer should be testing out to get their certification for the county. So we'll have the director, which is an animal control officer, and this new hire is a certified animal control officer. So we're starting to put those pieces in places. So we'll be looking to work on that fee schedule and then adjust some other fees as well too. So those are still some items that we've got to finalize. And I'll stop there if there's any questions so far. I know I kind of run through that fairly fast. I've thrown a lot of big numbers out.
I've got several.
Okay.
On pie chart on general fund revenue, it says charge for service. That's the second largest income generator on the whole thing. And have we adjusted any of these fees? I thought we had increased some of those fees in planning and zoning and permits.
We did, and I think there was some confusion on the implementation because we were without a permit clerk for a while, and I think that there was some confusion on the implementation of those, but we're working to get that corrected to make sure that we're fully utilizing the fee schedule.
Well, that was what I was wondering if any of those were reflecting on that number there. The other question is on the general fund expenditure. Is that green depreciation or is that green supplies? That's the big one.
It's the darker green is well, there's 2 shades of green.
Well, that's what
And
I'm
I may
trying to
have-
figure out because depreciation is not a cash expenditure.
We did not. The depreciation is not on there.
Okay, so that's supplies then.
Correct.
Okay, that was and the insurance runoff claim amounts, should that decrease moving forward?
It should. Now, when we go to a new, if we go to a new plan or whatever in July, there'll probably be some carryover. So,
There'll be a
but
little
it
carryover,
should.
but it should
Looking at
decrease.
past budgets, it did decrease.
Right.
We're just in a transition between plans.
Right, so my hope is that you said it's pretty hefty now, but that should go down. Is that not correct?
Historically, looking at it, yes, it should go down, but there'll still be some carryover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we still looking at a 7-cent fire fee,
That's
we're
what
we're not moving into our new direction.
we are. I had a conversation with the county attorney last week. We're trying to see if we can get this under the wire here so we don't, I guess our concern is we don't want to set this because we'll have to have 3 separate hearings unless we just fold everything. Because what I didn't put on the slide and what I tried to do over the weekend, I said, if we take the 7.8 millage rate, we don't roll back anything and then assume some growth factor. We just do away with the fire fee completely. I tried to figure out if we could just operate with that, and that wasn't sustainable. So for this iteration, I did include going up on the fire fee, and then next year we can prepare and we'll start in December, January, and then have everything ahead of the time that we have to set millage. We have all our IGAs in place and our agreements and our millage set for fire and EMS. I think there's still time. It's just going to be very tight. But if that's the direction, if y'all would rather do that now than wait, because I certainly don't want to kick the can down the road either. If we want to do this, this is what me and the attorney and trying to get everything in place should we do this. That's where we're at now. So if y'all give me direction to go ahead with it, we'll.
So
we'll
you're
do it.
thinking now that you can't get the fire and EMS revenue back into the budget at 7.809?
It'll be tough. I don't think so. I'd have to go back and pull those numbers, but we were still a couple million out of balance.
Okay.
I had high hopes. I had an epiphany the other day, and I said, what if we just kept the millage rate same? Which would be a difficult conversation to have with the taxpayers, that it's going up 20-something%. But if we left everything the same, we could abolish the fire fee and just roll everything into the millage, into the county O&M.
Well, the
And
M&O,
not-
the
and not
M&O
have
was
to-
lowered when the fire fee was put in place. The fire fee was just pulled out of the M&O. But I thought what you said, how would we be 2 million out? Because the fire fee collects about 2 mils, right? That's what-
No, it's probably about 1.5. So it's not quite 2 mils.
So if we're rolling back, almost 2
Co-
mils.
Because those numbers that I was presenting earlier, that was including what we had to transfer out of general fund to make the fire fund whole.
Okay. I think you get to it later in this presentation too, don't you? Some of that.
Not the funding mechanism, just some data that we had run and tried to parse out. But if we want to go to either rolling everything into the O&M or separate out into these fire tax districts, give me the green light and we'll make that happen. I know that's been discussion, but if that's the board's official direction, we'll go that.
I think that's a little much to bite off right now. Changing the entire thing. From selling to the public, it's kind of like, well, we're going to go up 2 mils, but we're going to eliminate the fire fee. The thing is you can go ahead and bite the bullet and take it on the chin now, or you can do it gradually down the road. I just think that's a little bit much. This, with the short time we got, I mean, it's August, we got to get it done by when?
We say October.
I think so.
First
I
draft.
don't want to
Bill,
cause anything to slow down on the tax bills, but
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
But I don't think it's, to me, if you're rolling back with the flossed and you're taking the fire fee off the bill and you're putting it back in the M&O, the taxpayer, that's why I had asked you about getting some tax bills together that show different properties and what that effect looks like on paper for the fire fee versus the
I believe I'd shared some cost estimations on a spreadsheet for that.
with a 100,000 versus.
Yes, I'd
So
shared
what I'm
that.
saying is, if we are going to apply the floss proceeds to the current millage rate, then you can wrap the fire fee into that, and the taxpayer would not notice or realize an increase on their bill to the total amount. I'm good with moving forward in that method. But I think changing up and creating a fire district at this point, we may be too late in the game. Is that clear?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
that,
makes sense.
and that was the
Well,
route
we-
I tried to take. Well, let's just abolish the fire fee. But again, I wanted to talk to the board to see if y'all are comfortable with that, because that's going to be a conversation we'll have to have with the public about, how this looks. And we certainly, take your comments tonight and we can recalculate everything.
The whole thing is, of course, we're gonna do it like the metro, we're just gonna, our county is too small, we're just talking about one district, we're just talking about doing the same thing as one district, we ain't doing that stuff up there, we're not Atlanta folks. But, and the other thing, if the stuff is already deemed by the courts being a tax already, where are we standing in that legally if the courts already ruled that this fee is already a tax? And then we expose ourselves to that type of thing coming and hitting us, and we end up paying back all this money.
And that's where, that case is in the Georgia Supreme Court now. So whatever the Supreme Court decides will either uphold or nullify any previous decisions regarding the fire fee statewide.
So, just to make sure I understand what Chase was saying, with the floss, we can roll back to the 6.1 or something like that, right?
Correct.
What is the, well, sorry to interrupt, what is the, what was the rollback rate minus the floss proceeds? It was the current millage rate is 7.809, so the rollback rate was 7.1 something?
That was the midpoint.
No, that's not that was just a happy medium that I
I don't
tried to
have the
find.
PT in front of me, but
Yeah, I don't
we had
have
a,
the PT. And I would pull it up, but it messed
Or
up.
you want the one over there?
when we say rollback, the rollback is, not 6.1, the rollback is, maybe 7.3, but anyway, that's the rollback, that's the tax digest. Rollback with the growth.
Let me look at the other.
Anyway, go back to your question now. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I was just saying, if you rolled it back to the 6.1, or didn't roll it back to the full 6.1, could you roll it back to the 7.6, which would still be a little bit of a rollback,
The
but the
roll.
fire fee is included at the 1.5.
Well, you just
still.
eliminate the fire fee.
That's what I said, that's what we were talking about was, I thought you were gonna try to make
That
this,
was the whole point from the beginning.
formulate the budget to where we take the or maybe maintain the 7.809 millage.
And I did, but we're still out of whack, so we'll have to, for this conversation tonight, I wanted to find something that was more palatable, but we can go back and see what that does.
But
And
I think you
just remove that estimated 1.7 and see where we come.
what did you find was the rollback? Did that,
7.584 is the rollback without the floss.
yeah, so all things excluded, the rollback would be 7.5.
Correct.
But with our floss proceeds, we should be able to hit a 6.1
That's correct.
millage rate.
That's correct.
So taxpayers have currently been hit with 7.809 plus a fire fee,
Correct.
which is the equivalent of about $1.5 million, you say?
That,
Tax
yeah,
bill.
let's roughly $1.5 million, yeah.
You're looking at nine
I-
and some
Yeah,
change.
so
Now, that's gonna be-
Essentially.
That's gonna be some gigantic tax increases for large landowners too.
And I was just trying,
And,
to stay away
people
from
with
any
high-
increase in the
high value
millage
houses.
rate.
Essentially, basically, we were looking at basically almost a substitution, basically, as we were talking about rolling back and eliminating the fire fee. So it's gonna take the fire fee away, the millage rate, but they still come out the same, because again, now as indicated, we're still paying on top of the taxes, the fire fee. And that would be totally eliminated. We wanna move that out of the way.
So what you're saying, just so I'm on the same page, even if we left it at 7.8, or what it is now, done away with the fire fee, taxpayers ain't necessarily saving money on the property taxes, but they're saving money because the fire fee's gone.
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
So,
No, nobody's really saving money because the fire fee's gone. It's just a different way to pay for it.
It's just a different,
The-
it's a different way to,
It'd be a different way to fund it because, yeah, they wouldn't be paying the fire fee. They'd be saving that money. But with the assessments, as their property values increase and you apply that millage rate, they
well,
pay more.
what really needs to be considered though is what's that line item total at the bottom of both. That doesn't need to increase. That's what I'm saying. I mean, in fact, like you said, it's just another way
Yeah,
to phrase the money's coming.
Well,
fire fee
That's
or
depending on
millage.
values and you lose.
It's a little different though
Take the
because
fire fee away. With
people
the
will-
falls, so
there's a cap
basically
on
we'll be back
square
at the rate. We
footage
just stay at the same
on
rate.
houses with the fire fee
And the
plus
fire fee would be
on tracts of
totally
land.
eliminated.
What is it, 2 cents an acre or something?
Yeah, what you're saying is anybody
3
over 100 acres isn't paying toward the fire service. I mean, they're capped
At 100 acres?
at 100 acres.
So my,
75.
so my point is they're gonna start paying taxes on everything.
Mhm.
What's it's assessed at, so they're gonna have a gigantic increase in their tax bill, as are people with larger homes and that kind of thing. They'll have, because they're getting there's a cap on the fire fee on the square footage, so, and I don't know about industry, I mean, you know, that was one of the issues that we were,
It's capped on the industry side,
It is.
I think at 100,000 square feet.
so, I mean,
And with the
there,
exemptions.
there are gonna be some hits along the way, and, you know, that's why I'm kinda thinking, let's think it through before we, move real fast, and get some of those,
And if
that
You
information.
give me a day or two and I can rerun this a little bit better. I did it over the weekend and said, I wasn't comfortable with throwing out a bunch of different options. I wanted to try to break this down, but I can come back and calculate that more closely to see exactly what it looked like, what the increase would look like to get, just to do away with the fire fee completely.
Well, I
know
think that's
there'd be
also-
about 200, and I'm going off memory here because I remember seeing the sheets, maybe, is it 250, let's just say 250, $300,000 worth of exempt properties that wouldn't pay money, but I just have to see how much with us, you know, using that 7.809, how much that gets us to make up for those exempt properties that because they pay into the fire fee now, but they won't pay any taxes.
Right, that
So
would benefit
200
churches and stuff like that, but my own question is I don't want to delay the
That's
the
my point
bills
of all this
going
too.
out
That's my
because you
main
got-
goal is,
you got all these moving parts, and then you say, well, we changed this, and this, but we still got to figure out what we're going to do. So that's another couple of meetings or something. And
Well,
Then we
I can
throw
have
in-
that. I can have that back for our next. Because essentially, what I started with was two different budgets. So at the next budget meeting, I can have both of those.
but I think there's an opportunity if you, if we can fit it within the budget to, if you're collecting 1.5 mils in fire fee and we are offsetting the budget, rolling back 1.5 mils for floss to put the fire fee back in the M&O this year, they'll save on the fire fee and not realize a gain as far as the M&O.
Yeah, for
'Cause
the most-
it'll level that back out.
for the most part,
And the other thing is, you know, cause
Without creating a separate fire district.
That was the mechanics I was honestly trying to get away with having to create three separate fire districts because it just adds more, may not add more work, it just add more confusion and there's more IGAs, there's more handshakes to have to do. If we could do one county-wide, but if we rolled everything back into the regular county M&O, we would not have to address that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That'd be the easiest way this year, and then we can go forward next year with. But that requires you to try to make everything fit into the budget at the current millage rate.
And I haven't, I'll go ahead and say it, not a concern, but it could be a pinch point if we did do the separate tax districts and they were assigned a millage. I'm sure there'd be conversation with some entities about their insurance premium tax. So you could use that money to roll back the fire M&O rate, but I just don't want us to get into a situation where we could lose money.
And no, you know, the whole thing is what we discussed, I thought initially, and we keep going back over it. The other part of that is, and if you can pull it together, I don't see necessarily we're missing anything on the other end doing that. And these other counties, though, Supreme Court of the state may not have ruled, but these other counties are moving on.
They
Who've
are.
already lost, whoever already lost these cases, and they don't feel that there's gonna be a change in the Supreme Court, so they've already shifted in their budgets to make the difference up by doing the millage rate efforts of it. So, yeah, I don't necessarily see the Supreme Court necessarily ruling maybe against what the lower courts have already decided. And the counties have moved on.
And I know that, there has been other counties, they're already trying to move, either this year or next year, moving back to a M&O.
All right. You wanna
So
proceed with
I will
public-
take, I'll go back to my Epiphany, and we'll work to just fold everything back into the county M&O and see what that, and I can send that out. I can send my rough numbers that I had over the weekend. Give me a day or two to recompute everything to make sure I didn't miss anything, and we'll.
And that's kind of where I thought you were going with it. So you're saying.
Well, that's where I wanted to go.
To
To
try
be
to
honest,
hold the millage at 7.809.
that's where I was trying to go, but it didn't. Without doing a whole bunch of stuff and trying to get this,
And basically, you can
didn't
say
look good.
you can consider that this year's floss proceeds would offset the fire fee.
Correct.
We would eliminate the fire fee by now having the floss. And next year, when that floss is doubled, the
Correct.
taxpayers will then realize the benefit times 2.
Correct.
Yeah. So give me a day or two to get all that reworked, check our math, and we'll send something out, and then we can discuss it at the next, I think, August, is it the 31st, our next work session? So we can discuss that.
But that won't require creating any kind of special district. And then
No.
next year we
No.
can pull it out of the general M&O,
If you
so the
wanted to.
taxpayer could see, because that's how I prefer it. One solid fire M&O countywide, not having different.
And that'll
Villages.
give us time to figure out the mechanics of setting up the special tax district. And
But
everything.
much like the fire fee, the taxpayer can still see on the line item, fire
Right.
M&O is costing me $120 a year.
Right. Okay.
So you're considering doing a special fire M&O? I mean, fire.
Well, that's what we had
Tax.
mentioned to begin with, but instead of like special districts, you just need one
Yeah, I agree with you totally
fire
on
M&O
that.
for everybody. It's just
Yeah.
like water sewer
Yeah.
rates. Everything's the same for everybody.
Yeah. I'm totally in agreement on that.
That's-
Okay.
all right.
All right, I did appreciate the fire chief's help. We kind of took a deeper dive into some of these emergency services numbers. We considered the current combined model a standalone EMS department and a standalone fire department. These are the call for services, fire versus EMS over the last couple of years. These are broke down by advanced life support, basic life support, no transport, and coroner calls. With everything combined, all in, we're looking about 7.28 million. Fire portion is 3.3, EMS is 3.7. We probably a little low with my initial estimates at the earlier meetings about it being 2 million and some change. So we weren't about reallocated everything best we could with the combined service. This is about what fire costs. This is about what EMS costs. So those are indicated there. With the fire department only model, you're looking all in with personnel and materials and supplies about 5.4 million. With the EMS department, all in about 4.2 million. And then comparing the two different types, you're looking at 7.2 million. And then with two different departments, you're looking about 9.6 million. And that's to keep all the levels of service the same. And the reason EMS is so expensive in a standalone organization is after 40 hours, EMS providers get overtime. When they're under a fire system like they currently are, we're able to use the FLSA overtime rates. So there is
So
substantial.
you're just giving us
savings
these
on the-
numbers to
on
see
the-
what those two look like separately.
Do what now?
You're just putting these numbers out here to show what those two look like separately.
Correct. If you had a EMS, if you had McDuffie County EMS and McDuffie County Fire, if they were separate organizations.
I think that's kind of a bigger conversation, really. We've talked about saving some money in different options and things, but
Right,
I think when the fire fee was set up, there was a fire utility or
yeah, there was.
public service
Yeah.
board, and I think we probably should get that back going and let that group have some say in that.
And we can continue to, like I said, I wasn't gonna spend a whole lot of time, but I did, after our last conversation, say, you know, I'd try to refine that and true up those numbers, so. I just wanted to briefly share that.
Well, where were the
that
revenues, from the fire, from the, EMS service on that? Is that, you said those are your expenses, but there wasn't any revenues from that on?
That would
including
be
that?
that would be from your billing.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
but
And
that
grants
didn't
and
show up on the
No,
expenses.
I didn't show the breakdown of revenues for that. I
But I
just
just
showed,
wonder what the net cost is.
I'm gonna say you'd still lose money probably on the EMS side.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
you'd
of
still
that,
have
but
to
I'm
make
just
some
wondering
up,
if you got,
because if you're running, we're running about 2.1 million, let's say around 2 million in EMS revenue. So you would have to make that up additionally.
So the, EMS, the EMS, the EMS and fire is, 7.2.
That was the overall
Is that
request.
net of the income from the EMS, or is that,
No, that's just the expenditure. That,
so we subtract 2 million from that then, right?
yeah, you can say.
But if you
yeah.
go back several slides, Bill, he's saying it really is 7.1, and by the time we take to the billing money, the fire fee money, the insurance premium tax money, we come out at the end of the year $500,000 short every year
Right,
from EMS.
right, that's what I was,
And our billing numbers are up this year, I think.
They've actually been up.
well, we compared those with Columbia County's, fees for service, which were considerably lower, right?
Why is that? Not to get off topic too much, but why have we not adjusted those over the years? Is there a reason behind that?
You'll have to answer that as far as the last time y'all adjusted.
A lot of it has to do with how, we look at how much we have to write off. You can bill any number you want to.
Mhm.
You can charge each patient $5,000. You're not gonna collect $5,000. You know, so we try to get it more in line. Now, I'll be honest, I know for a fact there's some patients that's getting $5,000 bills from a private ambulance service carrying from our local hospital to Augusta. I've seen the bills. They're not gonna collect $5,000 from insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. They're gonna write a lot off. And Pam and I have talked about, there's no sense in jacking all your prices up, and then you just gonna turn around and have to write that down. We try to be more realistic with our numbers
Right.
on what we're going to collect.
And that's what have been told since I got here. Our rates are more or less structured at, what the community can stand to pay.
Makes sense.
And I think we're pretty close in line with other communities of our size. Now, Columbia County is a different ballgame, Richmond County is a different ballgame. But if we look at Warren County, us, Lincoln County, Glascock County, we're pretty close on fees of those size counties. So we feel comfortable with those.
So like if Medicare and the insurance companies are not paying it, and then you have a citizen private pay, they would be paying those higher rates.
Yes.
They would be stuck paying those versus these other ones are not gonna be paid.
So, I mean, it sounds like though our rates are where they need to be then to be reasonable for our citizens.
And we still have a, allowance for uncollectible accounts, right around 60%, so.
Yeah, I think you realize a lot more uncollected
We do.
revenue if you went up.
Cause you wouldn't wanna record it as actual revenue, cause it would, skew your financial
Yeah.
statements of what you're really gonna collect.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's the end of the presentation. The remainder of your booklet is broke down with revenues and expenditure by each department and by each fund. If we want to go through these, we can, or if you
I
want to
think we
take
can.
some time to look through them, and then following the revenues or the expenditures.
I think we can go over these on our own.
Yeah.
So that next meeting, Brandon, call that back up. That's the 20. Excuse me. What day is the next one? Thought I had it on my calendar.
Or next meeting.
Yeah, the budget work session.
I think it's the 31st, that's our next work session, and then I think I intended to have a draft budget on September the 3rd.
September 3rd.
It has on the calendar, it's the 31st.
Yeah, it's the 31st, I think.
Okay.
But that's a normal
Work session.
work session.
Yeah.
So you'll have something by then.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Is there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to adjourn from this work session?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Holloman,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Joplin. 5:56.